Welcome to Pilates Elephants. I'm your host, Raphael Bender. Today, I want to make a case for why we should stop focusing on the minutiae. And I want to use a couple of analogies here. And this is something that I think about a lot in several areas of my life and things where I have a great interest. And Pilates is one of those great interests that I have. And I'm also really into other aspects of exercise. I love weight training. I love running. I love stretching. And I'm interested in the science and the best practices and the tips and tricks and things in all of those areas, just as I am in Pilates. I also am into I'm into cars. I like cars, and I take pleasure in maintaining our car. And when I was much younger, I used to rebuild and hot rod cars, and those days are long past, but I still take pleasure in a well-engineered vehicle. And in all of these areas where I have a great interest, I have observed the exact same phenomenon in myself and other people in the area. And that phenomenon is now, actually, I've also observed this, and where I think it's most obvious and where I want to really sort of draw the metaphor for you is in cuisine, in food. Now, I wouldn't call myself a foodie, but I do like what I like. And so I spent many years working in hospitality in my teens, 20s, and even up until my early 30s. And so I've worked in everything from cafes to nightclubs to literal 5-star fine dining restaurants. And I've seen how those businesses run and, the effort that goes into creating an amazing experience for diners. And so I'm going to draw all of these parallels together, dear listener, and talk about why we should stop focusing on the minutiae in Pilates. And by the minutiae, what do I mean? I mean the things, the fine distinctions, the trivial particulars that actually make stuff all difference to people's results. The 1% or 0.25% things, or really most of the time the 0% things. So let me illustrate start by giving you an example from strength science, and then I want to talk about the cuisine area. So in the strength science, now I have a bachelor's degree in sports and exercise science and a master's degree in clinical exercise physiology. So I've done a lot of formal training in the science of how to help humans become stronger. And since I graduated my master's in 2015, I have read, I would say without exaggeration, probably close to 1,000 papers on the science of how to improve human strength and muscle development. So I'm well familiar with a lot of the science in this area. And I would say it's absolutely not an exaggeration to say that there are two things that really determine, I would say, 90% or 95% of your results when it comes to strengthening. And we've talked about them on this show before, and the two things are the intensity of effort and the volume of work that you do. So basically, how close you get to muscular failure is the intensity of effort, and how many times you do that, how many sets you do to near failure per week is the volume. And so if you do a high intensity of effort and a high volume, you are doing about 95% of all it's possible to do to improve your muscular strength. Now, we could add to that an infinite number of tiny, tiny, tiny little things that are going to make an incremental difference for people who are already doing high intensity of effort and very high volume. You could do like emphasizing long muscle lengths. You could do slower eccentric tempo compared to concentric. You could do supersets. You could do rest pause sets. You could do myo reps. You could do drop sets. There are so many little things that you could do that would You could you could do periodization, vary the rep ranges that you work at each workout. But all of those things combined, dear listener, if we are already doing a high intensity of effort and a high volume of sets per week, all of those other things combined add up to possibly 5%, or probably even less than 5%. And yet, when you look at the research papers and the research reviews and the YouTube channels and the evidence-based strength science blogs and forums, what are they talking about? They're talking about drop sets, cluster sets, myo reps, lengthened partials, rest pause sets, supersets. They're talking about, slow eccentrics. They're talking about negative reps. They're talking about all of these things that are in the 5% category. They're not talking about just plain vanilla work really hard and really long, because that's actually what gets you 95% of the results. Now, the reason for that is, dear listener, that most of these people are already working really hard and really long. And so that's the table stakes. And so what these people, the people who are deep embedded in this kind of strength science culture, they're very interested in what they can do to improve their already impressive results by an extra 1 or 2%. So they're thinking about, if I take beetroot juice extract or tart cherry extract or L-arginine or, a branched chain amino acids or citrulline malate or, all of these, and then they start talking about, these all of these strategies to give you a possible tiny incremental improvement, right? And whereas you could spend about 1/10 of the amount of time and get 95% of the results by just working out hard and long and not knowing any of that other fancy stuff. And I think it's the same in cuisine. And so this is where I hope this will resonate with you, dear listener. So the value in eating, the value, for our body and our health comes from the macronutrients and the micronutrients that we consume, protein, carbs, fats, vitamins, minerals, and fiber. And if we have a meal that has a good balance of those things, some protein, some carbs, some fats, some fiber, some all of those things in the right proportion, and that is tasty, well, that is 95% of all the benefit it's possible to get from a meal, I would argue. And so when you go and buy, you go to Wingstop, which my wife and I went to when we were in Las Vegas a little while back, because our daughter begged us to go there. She was 17 at the time, and she really wanted us to go to Wingstop on her behalf. So we went there. Super greasy. Not our favourite food. Probably only had 2 of the food groups. Some protein just absolutely drowned in fat. So that was, I would call, a low quality dining experience. That the flavour wasn't amazing, in my opinion, and also the nutritional content was very imbalanced. Didn't have any fibre, probably not a mineral or vitamin in sight, and just way too much fat for my personal taste, and also just from an objective health stance. So that was a low quality dining experience. And then you can go to a really high quality dining experience. It's not that expensive. Like if you just go to a good sort of local suburban restaurant where you can get like a piece of fish with, vegetables like a salmon, niçoise, or you can get, some kind of tofu stir fry with vegetables, something that is healthy and tasty. Protein, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals, fiber, right? And all put together in a tasty way. Wow, amazing meal. That is, in my view, the pinnacle of dining. And of course, if the atmosphere is good and all of that, but just putting the atmosphere to the side, just the actual dining experience per se, you're getting all of the nutrients you need for your body, and you're also getting a stimulation of your brain, and, it's pleasurable because of the pleasurable taste. and texture and things. And then you can go and spend even more, right? If you get really into become a foodie, right? And if you're a foodie, all power to you. Like I'm a foodie when it comes to strength science, right? So I totally get you, and I'm not having a go. But when it comes to food, it's the same as what I described in strength science. You can go to a 5-star Michelin or Michelin-starred restaurant, say, and you can pay hundreds of dollars for a single dish, which is like one prawn on a plate with a drizzle of some sauce that took 14 hours to prepare and 2 leaves of some rare herb, right? And that actually has less nutritional value than the tofu and veggie stir fry or the salmon niçoise that you bought at the local suburban restaurant. And it takes way more time to prepare. It takes a whole team of highly skilled chefs hours to prepare that dish. And they measure everything out to the millimeter and the microgram. And the flavor may be amazing, but the actual nutritional value is certainly no more and is probably less than just a well-constructed, good quality, meal at your local Italian, French, Chinese, Thai, or whatever restaurant. And so this is the point where we get so far into the minutiae and into being a connoisseur, like whether it's a connoisseur of strength science or it's a connoisseur of cuisine, that we're actually like become obsessed with these things that actually don't add value to the core thing that we're doing, right? If you want to get strong, just lift heavy things as much as possible. That's it. If you want to be healthy, rainbow your plate, eat real food and not too much, right? It's not that complicated. But when we become connoisseurs, we make it complicated because we take pleasure in the fine distinctions and knowing, the difference between prawns from this region and prawns from that region, or, the difference between barbells and kettlebells and dumbbells and cables, or the difference between, different Pilates positions, dear listener. And so this is where I want to bring this home and talk about how I think we do this in Pilates. And I think, dear listener, Pilates is not that different to either cuisine or strength science, because Pilates is just exercise. And it's a very particular form of exercise and it can feel like magic, but it's not magic. It's just moving your body. And it's moving your body in a particular way and concentrating while you do it. And that can feel amazing, and it is amazing for you. But at its bones, it is subject to the laws of the physical universe. And so the health benefits of Pilates come from loading your body through range of motion with control. So, because in Pilates, we're strengthening, we're stretching, and we're improving control. And to strengthen, you need to load. We need to have high load. To improve range of motion, we need to move through full range of motion. So we need to load through range in order to get the benefits of Pilates. In order to become stronger and more flexible, we need to load through range with control. And so, dear listener, if we are doing low load muscle activation exercises where we're not moving through range, like lying on your back, activating your core muscles, moving your knee 4 inches to the side in either direction, you're literally doing the opposite of what actually causes you to get benefit. So instead of load through range, we're doing low load through small range. So it's literally the opposite. So it's like taking that cuisine, that stir fry that was so healthy and had all of the ingredients you needed to sustain your life and health, and then turning it into one prawn on a plate, which is not a balanced meal. It's actually reducing the benefit that people get. Now, when you're lying on your back, moving your knee 4 inches to either side and concentrating on your core, you are moving with control. So we're getting 1 out of the 3. But why not get all 3? And we're getting 1 out of the 3 and we're focusing on, these like minute adjustments that we make, just like the chefs in the Michelin star restaurant focus on the minute gradations of flavor in the sauce and the minute, ways that they slice things exactly precisely. And the way that the strength science devotees and bloggers focus on whether L-arginine or tart cherry extract is beneficial for your strength, where it's like, if you're lifting heavy and hard, bro, it's like you're not going to notice the difference by taking one or other of both of those. And so, dear listener, in Pilates, it's the same thing. The vast majority of the benefits of doing Pilates come from moving through range under load with control. And if we do that, we get the physical and the mental benefits. We're concentrating and connecting our mind with our body, and we're stressing our body, all of the tissues of our body, our joints, our ligaments, our tendons, our muscles, our fascia, through range, which is improving both our strength and our suppleness. And so once we go beyond that, I would say at the very best, we hit a point of diminishing returns where we're doing more and more and more work, and we're focusing on smaller and smaller and smaller improvements compared to how much work we're doing. Or really, most likely, we're probably actually diminishing the amount of benefit that we're getting, because most people are coming to you only 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours a week. And if you spend those entire 3 hours loading through range with control, they're going to get maximum benefit. Whereas whatever part of those 3 hours you spend doing very low load, high precision work through small range, you're actually foregoing the opportunity to do the work that actually brings most of the benefit. You're foregoing that nutritional value of the stir fry or the salmon niçoise, and instead they're having some kind of super specialized gourmet hors d'oeuvre that might taste amazing, but doesn't actually have the nutritional value in the form of loading the body through range, which we know is what causes the vast majority of the health benefits and mental health benefits of Pilates. All right, dear listeners, so I'm going to make a case for just keeping it simple and doing the 80, or I hope I have made a case for keeping it simple and doing the 80-20, the 20% of things that actually bring 80% of the result. And I think those 20% of things is just literally moving through range under load with control. And if you do that, I reckon you're doing Pilates and you're getting almost all, if not all, the benefit that is possible to get from Pilates. All right. I hope you found that helpful. Much love, and I'll see you in the next one.